KOPN Columbia, 89.5 FM. My name is Mike Hagan. This is Radio Orbit. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Shutting out the barber shop door. They wanna do long before the footstep behind them. And look at that 44. It like sticks and stone. Never count on when you're walking alone. It like broken bones. Never let straight along, now you're home. Never let straight along, now you're home. I said never let straight along, now you're home. Aristotle, rockin' so tough on the block. No, we didn't stop the red-headed stranger reporting on the old flintlock. It like sticks and stone. Never count on when you're walking alone. It like broken bones. Never let straight down, now we're home. Never let straight down, now we're home. I said never let straight down, now we're home. Come on. in this world. Alone in this world. World. I'm all alone with my home.
That's right. Good evening, everybody, whoever you are, wherever you might be, wherever and whenever you might be listening to this radio. Welcome to the program. It's Radio Orbit. It's Monday, the 31st of December, New Year's Eve. Happy New Year's Eve to all of you out there. And it's good to be with you here tonight. Be here for the next 3 hours or so till about 2 o'clock in the morning. Get to roll over into the new year with you here tonight on Radio Orbit. So it's going to be fun. And before we get going, let's say a big thank you to the crew run this show earlier this evening. Woody normally gets things going every Monday 3 to 5 with the Real Deal Country Show, but once a month, usually on the first Monday of the month, you got Joy sitting in for Woody. Joy did a great job this afternoon playing some great country music, and we'll get Woody back next week. But anyway, great job with the Real Deal Country Show this afternoon. Joy and Woody always playing great music for us regardless. At 5 o'clock, we got Left Ahead Radio. Did a nice wrap-up on the year in politics. Today, Tech Radio after that. Of course, Jazz plus Blues equals 2019. And New Wave Radio Theater. Just wrapping it up a bit ago with Jackie and mixed in a bit of music there along with some pretty relevant radio theater tonight. So thanks, Jackie. And everybody else who kept it going throughout the day here on Monday. It's Mike, and you're listening to Radio Orbit, but throughout the day here on KOPN, good music, good talk, good news, and keep it tuned in here, okay? All right, last week, it was Christmas, and we talked about Santa and Jesus Christ and mushrooms and how they all were sort of related, perhaps, a little bit about mythology and history and a bunch of other stuff. If you miss a show, you can listen online anytime from the archives at www.mikehagan, MikeHagan, MikeHagan.com. And we also had some great music from Mr. Dale Watson. And you can check out Dale Watson on the web at dalewatson.com, or go to my music archives at mikehagan.com and click over to the music page there, and you can hook up with Dale Watson and see what he's up to these days. Now, with regard to Dale Watson, he is the founder and certainly the coiner of the term Ameripolitan music, and our good friend and confidant and fellow radio personality here at KOPN, Woody Atkins, who is the host of the Real Deal Country Show every Monday from 3 to 5. Woody has been nominated for the Ameripolitan Music Awards DJ of the Year. It's like the 5th or 6th year in a row that Woody has been nominated. There's 45 minutes left. You can vote for Woody for another 45 minutes because the contest goes until literally the first of the year. The actual presentation and the award ceremony will be in February in Memphis. But if you want to vote for Woody, as the Ameripolitan DJ of the Year, you can do that, and you can do it now for the next 45 minutes. And you can go to Ameripolitan, AMERIPOLITAN, Ameripolitan.com, and you can vote for Woody. There'll be a big banner there that says vote, and just scroll down to DJ of the Year and vote for Woody. If you ever listen to his program, it's fantastic, and I have been made into a country music fan pretty much because of Woody Atkins. Even though I was exposed to a lot of it when I was a young person, I didn't really jive with it much until the last few years. And yeah, I understand that, perhaps some of that early stuff that I heard as a kid was kind of in there and just kind of waiting to be awakened, and I get that. And maybe that's what happened, but at any rate, I like the music, and Woody does a great job of presenting old and contemporary, both classic and contemporary country music. But the newer stuff is along the lines of this sort of new genre of music that's called Ameripolitan, and it's really just a bunch of cats and guys and girls who are making music that is modern but incorporates a lot of the styles and ideas from the early days of country. And I think it's fantastic stuff, and Woody does a great job of sharing it with us. So if you have the gumption, get on the internet there and go to Ameripolitan.com and vote for Woody. Okay? All right. Tonight, just me and you. We got a New Year's Eve party. You can call in if you like. The numbers here are 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. I've been doing a lot of call-in stuff lately, and I'm really trying to encourage people to call in and talk tonight. Nothing serious, or you can be serious if you like, but pretty much whatever you'd like to talk about. Maybe you got some ideas for the new year. Maybe you want to give some prognostications or predictions for what you might think might be coming up in 2019. Maybe some backwards vision and some, a little look at 2018 or the years before that, that have brought us to where we are. So we can do either or, both and give me a call sometime tonight, all right? The number is 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. Hopefully you're doing something fun. You're with friends or you're with family, or or just doing something you enjoy by yourself. But hopefully it's a good night for you, and you're enjoying yourself out there. And if you want to join along with me tonight, you're welcome too. All right. Other than that, I'm just going to play a bunch of music from my friends, the Hooten Hallers. They have a brand new record that's called Live in Missouri. It was recorded in May of this year at the Blue Note, just around the corner here. And there was a bunch of great video that was done by Chelsea Myers and the people down at Tiny Attic. Tim Pilcher here from the station was involved in that as well. And Will Reeves from Central Cellar Studios did the audio for the videos. And then, of course, they also recorded an entire record that night at the Blue Note. So we're going to hear tracks. In fact, we're going to hear the whole record in its entirety and in the order that it was recorded. So we'll hear, a lot of times I'll play a record or I'll play a artist over the course of the program, and I'll jump around from this to that and the other thing. But tonight we're going to hear the Hooten Hallers record Live in Missouri, and we're going to hear it straight from start to finish in the order that it was recorded. The first one there was Sticks and Stones, which is a great song that was off. I think it was off of Whelp City, but don't quote me on that. And we're going to hear Albatross here in a few minutes, but literally we're going to go right through this entire live album over the course of the next 2 hours and 40 minutes. And it's a great record. And if you're a citizen of Columbia, Missouri, you should be really proud of the Hooten Hallers. I guess pride is probably a bad word to use, or an inappropriate word. See, I get all these sidetracks. Now, for bad words, there's no such thing as a bad word. I was taught as a child, and I think many, many people were taught, that there are certain things that are bad. You just don't say them. It's bad words. Well, as an adult, I've come to determine that that is not actually the case. There is no such thing as a bad word. There are inappropriate and appropriate times to use all words, but no such thing as a bad word. And I think that all words are good in the right context and in the right circumstance. So at any rate, I'm not even sure why I started talking about bad words, but the Hooten Hallers have a great record that was recorded here at the Blue Note in May of this year. They've done a bunch of work with Chelsea at Tiny Attic, and of course with Will Reeves at Central Cellar Studios, and we should be very happy. Of course, now I get back to my main thread. I said earlier that we should be proud of the Hooten Hallers. We shouldn't be proud of them because we had nothing to do really with their success other than perhaps supporting them. If anyone should be proud, it should be themselves. And even then, it gets a little sketchy. Pride's a weird thing because you have to sort of take credit for something, for doing something. I take pride in this because I'm good at it. But how did you get good at it, and why are you good at it? I mean, if you're a good singer, you had nothing to do with the fact that you have, genetically good vocal cords and, and good lungs and are capable of speaking English well, or whatever it is, the language that you're singing in. You see what I mean? So it's hard almost to be proud of something, even if you're really attractive, you're very pretty, or you're a good looking guy or an attractive girl, you have beautiful eyes. I mean, you have nothing to do with the fact that you have beautiful eyes. You just got lucky. It's not, that's not something to be proud of. So I'm not really sure where pride really comes in. Maybe it's something you got to be really careful with. But at any rate, I'm certainly glad that the Hooten Hallers came from this particular part of the country. I've known John and Andy for many years. I've known Kelly now for a few years. And what a great combination of individuals and imaginations and musical talent. John Randall, incredible talent. Andy Ream, remarkable. And Kelly, just off the charts. I mean, they're just three remarkable musicians, and we've had the chance here in Little Columbia, Missouri, to watch these guys and girls develop and mature over the last 10 or 12 years, and now they're really doing it. They're playing tonight in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Hats off to you guys. Hello. And they'll be leaving in about a week to go spend a month in Europe, actually in the British Isles, with the Dead South, who they toured with about for the last 3 months. They've had some time off here, but had a great tour with the Dead South over the fall and the winter here, where they played all kinds of great big sold out shows all over the country. So the Hooten Hallers really doing it, and really should be proud of themselves. And I'm really glad that we're a part of it here in Columbia, Missouri. So we've got great stuff happening here in mid-Missouri. Guys like Woody Atkins up for DJ of the Year for the Ameripolitan Music Awards, and bands like the Hooten Hallers showing us how to rock and roll. So it's New Year's Eve. We're going to play a lot of music tonight. Once again, the phone number is 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. Love it if you call in and say hi. In the meantime, here's some more music. This one is called Albatross. Live in Missouri, it's the Hooten Hallers.
Tomorrow, when the wind comes through, 5 foot of snow, I ain't got no shoes. Bob lying out in the rain, car stopped dead in the passing lane. Tomorrow out in that car, you're my sweet little albatross,
right. All right, that one's called Gravity, and we heard Albatross before that. Songs from the Hooten Hallers live in Missouri, recorded in May of 2018 and just released on the 21st of December of this year. And as a matter of fact, on Friday, the 21st of December, just a couple weeks ago, I had John and Andy and Kelly on the air with me on Friday morning for a program that I call Open Mic Radio, 9 o'clock every Friday morning, and it was great. We had a good conversation, interesting talk. I had a chance to talk to Kelly for the first time on the air, at least. And, you know, John and Andy, I think a lot of people are familiar with them around here, but I think Kelly maybe not so much so. She's situated in St. Louis and just didn't really spend all that time here in Columbia in the early days of the Hooten Hallers. But Kelly has a great musical background and is married to a guy whose name is Ryan Koenig, who is one of the members of Pokey Lafarge and the South City Three. And Ryan is a fantastic musician in his own right, had a very difficult 2018, was injured in an accident, and Kelly was injured too, actually, and very, very sort of random and strange event. But at any rate, both of them were hurt. Ryan very severely, actually, but has come back and is definitely on the upswing and had his first return show with Pokey and the gang just a couple of weeks ago, and he also released his own a new record that's come out recently, and I don't have it in front of me here, so I won't tell you what the name of it is, but I will tell you that I imagine that sometime in the next couple months or whatever that we'll probably feature that record on Radio Orbit here. So anyway, hats off to the Hooten Hallers and to Kelly and Ryan and Pokey and everybody else out there. I hope 2019 is a great year. 2018 was a challenging year for me personally. A lot of stuff in my own world that was, difficult at times, and that's the way life is. Sometimes you got easy times, and sometimes you got rough times. So anyway, I'd like to see 2019 be a great year for everybody, myself included. And so wishing you all well on this New Year's Eve here. We've got about 25 minutes before the midnight hour hits us here in mid-Missouri. I guess it's already happened in New York City. I'm not sure why it's so important, why it happens in New York City, but or when it happens in New York City, but I guess that's sort of the center of the world here in the West. And anyway, Happy New Year, whether it's 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock or 11:30 or 12:30, whatever it is, wherever you might be. Hope you have a great New Year, and I hope you actually had a great year in 2018, just because the year was tough for some people doesn't mean it was tough for everybody. Hopefully there's as many people out there that had a good year as those that had sort of a rough year, okay? All right. As I mentioned, we're listening to music from the Hooten Hallers all night. My great friends and just so thrilled at the success that they're having. But their new record called Live in Missouri is going to be played here in its entirety tonight. We've heard the first three songs, Sticks and Stones from Greetings from Whelp City. That's an older record, maybe 2012 or so. Then we heard Albatross, and we heard Gravity. We're going to hear another one here in a few minutes, but might as well give those phone numbers out one more time. The numbers here in the studio if you'd like to get on the air with me. And it's New Year's Eve, so come on, if you're around and close to a telephone, give me a call and just say hi. And if you have something you want to talk about, that's fine. Or if you just want to say hello and Happy New Year. And I'm into predictions. If anybody has predictions, what they think might happen coming up in the next year, I'd love to hear it. And then we'll have this conversation recorded. All this stuff is recorded, and we'll have it up there on the internet. So if you're actually right about your prediction, well then you can prove it. You can say, hey, listen to Radio Orbit from December 31st of 2018. I called in and I talked to Mike, and I told him exactly whatever it is that actually does happen. So you got that going for you if you can call and make a legitimate prediction, okay? The number is 573-443-8255. 573-443-8255 and 573-443-7380. Either one of those numbers will get you right to me here at the station, and I'll get you on the air and we can talk, okay? All right. I would normally do space weather right now, but I will. I'll do that in a second. But I also want to mention that I have some giveaways. I have some stuff that I've collected over the course of the year. There have been a number of generous musicians who've come around and through here, and I've got a couple of records and things that we might give away. So if you're interested in any of that stuff, again, you can call at 573-443-8255. This is my bribery section of the show, and 573-443-7380. Paul Weber and the Scrappers, one of my favorite bands from the local area here. They kind of make their home in Columbia and a little bit south here, maybe Ashland, but incredible band. Paul Weber, Jesse Mudd, Dave Durnley, Justin Hickerson, remarkable band. They made a record in 2017 in the early part. I guess maybe it was right at the end of 2016, but either way, it's a great record, and I have a copy of it here. And if you would like it, you can just call me and I'll give it to you. I also have a copy of Ina Cook's most recent record, the Ina Cook Band, and that's the name of the band and the record. It's the album of the same name, but at any rate, the Ina Cook Band. Ina Cook is a remarkable young musician who I had the pleasure of speaking with a few months ago here on KOPN, and she was nice enough to give me a copy of her record, and I left one here at the station, and she gave another one to give away to a lucky listener. So that might be you. The Ina Cook Band, great record. If you're interested in that, New Year's Eve giveaways here on KOPN, 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. And I also have a copy of Chillicothe Fireball, which was the most recent record from the Hooten Hallers. Prior to, I shouldn't say that. They did an EP and they did Mountain of Pain in between. But the most recent full-length record from the Hooten Hallers was from 2014 called Chillicothe Fireball, and that's a great record as well. And I have a copy of that if somebody would be interested in getting a hold of that. So once again, I'm going to give them out one more time, 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. Okay, so in the meantime, we will do space weather. I'm going to do kind of an interesting version of space weather tonight. I'm basically going to talk about some cool things that are going to be happening during 2019, not necessarily in the next day or two, but over the course of this year. There will be several notable astronomical events that will be visible for many people across the United States, including a rare celestial alignment that won't happen again until the mid-2030s. So anyway, let's start with this. On January 20th and the 21st, the super blood moon eclipse will glow red over the United States. This will be one of the most viewed astronomical events of the year. It'll take place in the middle of January, right around the 20th and the 21st of January, as the moon will take on a dark or a orangish red tone during a total lunar eclipse. This will be the only total lunar eclipse of the year, and it'll be visible in the skies of North America and South America, as well as part of Europe and part of Africa as well. That'll happen on the night of January 20th and into the early hours of January the 21st. As the moon passes through the Earth's shadow, it will gradually turn, as our image here on the Earth viewing it appears, it'll turn like a rusty orange or to almost reddish color. And over the course of history, this has earned the nickname of a blood moon. And the entire eclipse will take place at about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. It'll finish up at about 3 o'clock in the morning. So the significant phases of the eclipse will take about 5 hours or so to completely occur. So anyway, that'll be happening, on January the 20th and into the 21st. And if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you can check out an amazing lunar eclipse and a blood moon that's pretty rare. Won't happen again for quite some time. All right, then in May, at the beginning of May, there will be a meteor shower that is one of the better ones, typically. It is the remains of the Halley's Comet, actually. When comets come through the solar system, they have a gravitational pull as well. So they drag all kinds of stuff along with them as they're moving through the solar system. They're pulling through a bunch of rocks and smaller asteroids and, just a bunch of debris in their tail and in the gravitational field that, that accompanies that particular object. So if you can imagine, this big thing, flying through space with sort of a tail behind it that has all kinds of other things inside of it. Well, it whips around the sun and it's moving at, increasing speeds and going really fast. And next thing you know, it sort of throws some stuff off, and debris and smaller meteors and asteroids from the tail and from the breakup of the of the coma of the heart of the comet over time. Those things end up sort of separating from the comet, but they maintain sort of a similar orbit. And every so often, a bunch of that debris that was originally brought through on the tail of a comet enters the atmosphere again, or we sort of fly through it, as the Earth is moving through its orbit. And when that happens, we get fireballs in the sky, and we call them shooting stars as children, but they're really just small pieces of rock and sometimes even dust and just small bits of cosmic debris that are burning up as they move through the atmosphere. That's what a shooting star is, and you're seeing it burn. That's why you can see it when that happens. But anyway, you can see these types of things on any given night if you just lay down on your back and stare at the stars. If you're lucky, you might see something. But there are different times during the year when you're going to have a much better chance of seeing something like that than at other times. And in May, between May 6th and 7th, you'll have a great opportunity to see the Eta Aquarids meteor shower, which is a group of meteors that were brought along in the tail of Halley's Comet. And they will, burn up in the atmosphere and result in the annual meteor shower that we call the Eta Aquarid shower. This happens regularly every year, because what happens is the comet, continues on its path around the sun and outside, and just on its way out and through the solar system. But a lot of the debris that gets left behind can get captured in an orbit around the moon or around Earth or around the sun or whatever. And that's what we end up going through as we rotate on our orbit around the sun. So anyway, the meteor shower will favor the southern hemisphere this year, and but people in the north will still see maybe 30, 40 meteors per hour if you're actually watching. Okay. All right. What else? Somebody's sending me text messages here, so I might as well check. See you saying hi. Ha! Chelsea Krieg. I love you, Chelsea. Live now from Columbia, Missouri to Steamboat Springs, Colorado. Chelsea Krieg, one of my favorite people of all time. Hope you're having a great day and a great night and a happy new year to you over there in Colorado. All right, on July 2nd, there will be a total solar eclipse. Of course, this will happen over South America. We won't be able to witness it up here in the north, but it is the first solar eclipse since 2017's Great American Eclipse, if you remember. Anyway, most of the eclipse will take place this year over the unoccupied waters of the Pacific Ocean. It'll be visible across over maybe just a sliver of Chile and Argentina, but for the most part, it won't be very visible. Eclipses happen a lot more often than people think they do. It's just they're not visible all the time, and sometimes they last longer than others. Depends on your angle and your position on the Earth and all that stuff, right? Anyway, all right. So that's happening in July. In August, we have the Perseid meteor shower. So this is the 12th and the 13th of August. Every year, stargazers will mark the Perseid meteor shower on their calendars. And this year, it is, like I said, the 12th and the 13th of August. The Perseid meteor shower is one of the best ones of the year. Even the people at NASA always say that this is one of the best ones if you're going to be an observer of a meteor shower. If you're going to pick one during the year, the Perseids is probably one of the best ones. The reason they call it the Perseids is because it comes, from our perspective, it appears to come out of the constellation Perseus. And in fact, the one that we were talking about earlier, the Eta Aquarids that are happening in, what did I say? That happens in May. The reason they call it the Eta Aquarids is because it comes from the constellation Aquarius, from our perspective again here on Earth. So a lot of times they name these phenomenon after the regions of space that they actually sort of originate in. So anyway, yeah, the Perseid meteor shower, that'll happen the 12th and the 13th of August, and this year might not be the best showing because it's right before a full moon, and it's nicer to do sort of meteor shower watching if you have a real dark sky. But the Perseids are pretty impressive anyway, so the 12th and 13th of August, put that on your calendar and go outside, take a walk, and take a look up above your head there and see what's happening in the skies up there, okay? Later in the year, on the 11th of November, Mercury will transit the sun. A solar transit of a planet is, again, from our perspective on Earth, when a planet moves between the Earth and the sun. So it would be in a direct line of sight, that is. And so, for example, when Mercury transits the sun this coming November 11th, it'll look like a small dot, like a small black dot on the surface of the sun, but it will move across the surface of the sun as it's sort of moving in between the space, between us and the Earth. Mercury is typically difficult to find in the sky because it's so close to the sun, and the light from the sun normally blocks out the reflection of the small planet Mercury. But on November 11th, you'll be able to track it as a small black dot as it moves right across the surface of the sun. They call this event, or these types of events, they call them transits, and they don't happen very often. The most recent transit of Mercury occurred in 2016, and it won't happen again until the 13th of November in 2032. All right, so those are my 5 astronomical events that you might want to keep your eye on in 2019. And there are plenty of other things, I'm sure, that will be happening this year that you can keep your eye on. And one of the things you should keep your eye on is the music and the career of a band called the Hooten Hallers. And I'm going to play another song from them here in a minute after I tell you that you can find information on the web about this radio program at Mike Hagan, MikeHagan, MikeHagan.com. I've been doing the program only for about, 6 months or so, not even August or so. When did I start doing it again? I guess in August or so. But I used to do the program about 10 years ago. I did it for quite a few years before then. So this is sort of a revamping of an older program. The name remains the same, and the format is similar. I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do over time. I tend to do interviews with people who I find interesting. And I do have some great stuff coming up over the next few weeks. In fact, I might as well mention that Dr. Paul LaViolette, one of my favorite people and a remarkable astrophysicist who makes his home in Schenectady, New York, half of the year, but we'll be speaking with him from Athens, Greece, next Monday. Dr. LaViolette is the author of many books and many scientific papers, but he's also a really interesting cat and somebody who has some sort of ideas that are a little bit further out on the fringe, and I'm always interested in that type of stuff. There are plenty of people talking about the stuff we all know about. So anyway, Dr. LaViolette on the air next week with me, next Monday on the 7th of January. The 14th, I don't have anything particularly planned, but we'll see if we can get a guest lined up for the 14th. On the 21st, we have Mr. Rick Levine, and Rick is a remarkable person. He's an author, but he's an astrologist and sort of a prognosticator, and he's got a great sense of humor too, and he doesn't take this stuff too seriously. So I wanted to do sort of a 2019 show and talk about predictions and stuff. And tonight, you're welcome to call in with your predictions and your ideas for what might be coming in the year or years ahead. And again, the numbers here are 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. But Rick Levine is a prognosticator of the professional type, and he's written many books, and he's a published astrologer, and he understands quite a bit about the way that the objects above our heads move out there in the universe around us, and he's a fun guy as well. So we'll have Rick Levine on the 21st of January, and we'll talk about what he might see in his crystal ball for 2019. Then on the 28th of January, I'm super excited to have a woman whose name is Mirabai Bush on the program. She's recently written a new book with Ram Dass, and I hesitate to name the title of the book because I forget it, but she's a very interesting woman, and she's someone who I'm looking forward to talking to. I've never had her on the program before. I heard her interviewed with somebody else about, a couple 3 months ago, and I thought, my gosh, she was remarkable, and I'm thrilled that we're going to get her on the program here in just a few weeks. And speaking of remarkable women that are going to be on the program, Riane Eisler, the author of The Chalice and the Blade, it will be back on the program sometime in 2019, hopefully in the next few months. I'm not sure exactly when, but I was lucky enough to reconnect with Riane in the last couple 3 weeks here, and she's still doing great work, and I look forward to speaking with her sometime in the near future. If you're not familiar with her work, you might just do a web search for Riane Eisler, Eisler, and take a look at what she's done over the years. She wrote a book called The Chalice and the Blade about 30 years ago, I think, but it's to this day one of the most important books, I think, that's been written, certainly in the last 50 years. And I'm not the only one that has said that. There are many people who think that it is an important book. And I think that the most important books don't get the attention, because if they did, we wouldn't be in the predicament that we're in. Because there are plenty of people, over the course of my lifetime, and I've been alive for about 50 years, that have had great ideas and great insights and great understanding about what it is to be a human and about how we might better do that on the world. I mean, there are just a whole host of them. And Buckminster Fuller comes to mind right now. I'm not sure exactly why. But Riane Eisler is right up there with all of the rest of them. And it's a name that's probably not that familiar to most people, but she really is someone who should be known and who's done incredible work and is still doing it to this day. So anyway, Riane Eisler on the program sometime in the next few weeks, and I can't wait. I've gotten back in touch with Jay Widener. Jay was a guy who I used to have on the program back in 06 and 07 a lot. Really interesting guy. Was a great author. Wrote a number of books that I still like a lot. He's made many documentary films. He's now involved with more on the production side of some of this stuff, but really interesting guy and super intelligent and knows a lot about the past and has a pretty interesting insight into the future. So we'll have Jay Widener back on the program sometime soon. Who else? Let's see. What do I have on my list here? I mentioned Dr. LaViolette. Justin Robertson. I have a friend who's actually a local friend. I met him in, I don't know, it's been 15 years or so, but he's a local guy who kind of comes and goes a lot, though. And he's a falconer, though, a person who is professionally involved with raptors, with birds of prey. And I'm an extreme, what's the word? Well, I guess I just like birds, and I really like hawks and falcons and owls and eagles, and Justin is an expert in that area of endeavor. So we'll have the falconer, Justin Robertson, sometime in the next couple months, I hope, and more to come. All right. Once again, 573-443-8255. 573-443-8255. You can call in. Wow, it's almost midnight. So if you get on the horn here in the next few minutes, you can be the first person to call KOPN in 2019. There's some sort of a claim to fame. I'm not sure exactly what. But, yeah, honestly, give me a call, 573-443-8255, 573-443-7380. It's New Year's Eve. I'd love to say hello and shoot the crap with you for a minute here on the telephone line. And it doesn't matter where you're calling from. You can get us here at KOPN. You can also send me a note online. My email address is orbitradio, ORBITRADIO, orbitradio at AOL.com. And once again, you can get me on the web at Mike Hagan, MikeHagan.com. All right, it is 11:58 or 23:58, as we say in the dot mill. We got about a minute and 30 seconds before the midnight hour. So I'm going to have to find another minute and a half of something to talk about, because I want to say Happy New Year right at the New Year hour, and then I'm going to put on some music for a little bit here. And okay, here's what I'll say. I like to feature music on this program, and the way we do it on Radio Orbit is we pick one artist and feature that artist throughout the whole program. So on any given Monday night, you will hear only one artist, but you'll hear a whole bunch of stuff from that artist throughout the course of the program. So tonight, for example, we're hearing the Hooten Hallers, and rather than hearing material from all of their albums, we're hearing their most recent record called Live in Missouri. We're hearing that in its entirety from start to finish, and we're going to hear another one here in about 30 seconds. But if you have music that you'd like me to hear, or if you're a musician yourself and you want to share your stuff with me, or if you're an artist or a poet, and by artist I mean a painter or a sculptor or something like that, perhaps, any of it, send it to me. Email orbitradio at AOL.com, or on the web, MikeHagan.com, and we'll share it with the greater world. We have the ability to do that now. We have this internet thing, and we can say it here and they can hear it there, wherever that might be. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Happy New Year. It's now 2019, and it's a pleasure to be with you here on Radio Orbit, KOPN Columbia, 89.5 FM. We're going to rock the new year in with a song called Grinding Up the Bones. This is the Hooten Hallers, live in Missouri, KOPN Columbia, Radio Orbit.
Oh, the hardest part, everybody knows, is grinding up the bones. Wow! Cross bills on aluminum siding, small shape with a smokestack, with a nice mowed lawn.
It's the Hooten Hallers with Grinding Up the Bones. I had somebody on the line there, and I was going to bring you on the air as soon as that song finished. I'm sorry that I had to wait a minute there, but if you call back, give me a call here at 573-443-8255, and we'll get you back on the air here. I'm going to put something... Oh, there it is right there. And we will say hello and welcome to Radio Orbit. Who's this?
This is Louie.
Hi, Louie. How you doing, man?
I'm hanging in there. How about you?
I'm doing about the same. Happy 2019, you know, man?
Yeah, you too.
Where are you calling from, Lou?
Chamois.
Right on. How far is that from Columbia?
Oh, wow. Well, you can't just drive there directly. I would have to guess probably somewhere around under 2 hours.
Yeah. Are you listening over the web, or are you listening on the airwaves?
On the airwaves.
Wow, I'm impressed that our signal's getting out there to you. Cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
All right, man.
Hey, there was a couple of things I was wanting to know. You were talking about the Mercury going in front of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to watch that?
Well, you need the easiest way to do it for people like us is to get a pair of welder's goggles. And
they got them on sale at Walmart.
Well, I don't know if I trust them, but I happen to work for a manufacturer, and I got a bunch of welders that I work with, and I get a pair of their goggles, and they've got a couple of different levels of filter, I guess is what they call it. And I watched the Venus transit a few years ago, and it was awesome. It was just like, like watching it with a pair of sunglasses on. But I would warn people that, you definitely want to have some sort of eye protection, if you're going to be staring at the sun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping you might mention that.
Yeah.
There's another thing. See, in Chamois, we got the Lynn paper, the Unterrified Democrat.
Uh-huh.
And our mayor has an article that she writes in the paper every week.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if I got this because I got in on the end of it, but she's listed quadratits meteor shower on the 3rd and 4th of January. Did you mention that?
I didn't, but it looks like the quadratids. Yeah, the quadratids. I'm not sure. It looks like that, though.
Yeah, she's got in the paper for us, which is Chamois, the radiant, that's the origin of the shower, will set in the northwest around 7:20 p.m. and rise again in the north around 9:52 p.m. From there, it will continue to move northeast and get higher in the sky until about 3 a.m. and will be visible until it becomes too light to see.
Yep, I've got the same thing here. She said January 4th, huh?
3rd and 4th.
Yeah. I've got the 2nd through the 4th. So, yeah, that's one that I wasn't aware of. But yeah, as I pull it up here, absolutely, that's happening. Yeah, just in the next couple days here. So.
Okay, I just thought I'd mention it because it's like I had the radio on, but I was in the middle of doing something, so I didn't know if you said that or not. I
didn't. I missed it, but I'm glad you're bringing it up.
Right. Hey, when is that picture supposed to come back from? Where is it at now? That one probe, that one that we sent out there by Pluto.
Well, you got both. The Voyager 2 just left the solar system. Everybody made a big stink about that a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And although they're not sending there's no imagery coming back from Voyager 2, although they're still getting radio signals back, and that's pretty amazing, actually, considering that they launched the thing in the mid 70s or whatever, and they're still getting telemetry back from it. Voyager 1 left quite some time ago, but the difference between the two of them is that Voyager 2 is still powered, and they're still getting signals back from it that they can actually do something with, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you're doing a good job, and I want to thank you.
I sure appreciate you listening. What do you do there out in mid-Missouri?
Well, I'm retired right now, so I'm not doing too much, but I like doing woodwork, building stuff on my own.
Yeah.
Shelves and things like that.
Yeah, I love I love carpentry. It's one of the few things that I can do that I'm pretty good at. I'm no good at like electrical or plumbing or anything like that, but I'm decent.
Right.
I'm decent with carpentry.
Yeah, I'm not good at plumbing either. It's like my worst suit.
Oh man, anytime there's water involved, it scares the hell out of me because if you mess up, it ruins everything.
Right. Well, I tried putting some pipes together before, and I turned that water on. It's like, I got a leak here, a leak over there. It's like, well, how are you supposed to fix these things? It's like you got to take them back apart.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I totally get it.
Hey, listen, there's one more thing I was wanting to mention.
Yeah, sure.
Back in '76, I think it was, they sent a module to take pictures of Mars.
Yeah, the Viking probes, sure.
Yeah, the Viking probe, yeah.
There were two of them, yeah.
One of the pictures that came back, there was a face on the picture. It clearly looks exactly like a face.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you know about that?
I did. There was a guy named Richard Hoagland who he actually used to work for NASA years ago, and he wrote a number of books. I think one was actually called "The Face on Mars," and there was a lot of scientific sort of discussion about that. It seems to have sort of gone away. It seems like people have forgotten about it. I think there was a mission to Mars in the late 90s or maybe the early 2000s where they were supposed to get like really good, like high resolution photographs of that whole area, and they acted like they did, and then like sort of wrote the whole thing off. But to be honest, I never saw anything that was really convincing to me one way or the other. I was certainly impressed by the early images. I was like, yeah, it certainly looks like a face, but they always tried to talk it down like it was just like a trick of shadow and light and something like that, right?
Right.
But I never really heard any more about it. I guess people have just said, it's either there or it isn't, and I guess they're waiting for someone to come knocking on our door more than anything,
Right. Well, I used to listen to that. Let's see if I can think. Art Bell.
Oh man, yeah, I loved Art Bell.
I used to listen to him, and this guy called in. He had some guy on there. He had a lot of experts, and people call. They would talk on the show, and then
he had the greatest guests, yeah.
Well, this one guy called in, and it was like late night, and he had called in, and he'd said that there used to, of course it's a theory, I guess, but he said people used to live on Mars, and there actually used to be a regular atmosphere there. And so you're thinking, well, that's a nice theory. You got no way to prove it.
Right.
So, but anyway, he's saying what he believes happened is there's a meteor belt that's right by Mars. It goes around.
Sure, the asteroid belt in between Mars and Jupiter.
The asteroid belt.
Yeah.
The asteroid belt. And he said he believes what happened was that an asteroid, a huge, it might not even been an asteroid, but something huge hit Mars, and it busted up, and that's where we got the asteroid belt from. And when it hit it, it knocked a lot of the atmosphere off of Mars.
Yeah, I'm sort of familiar that there are a lot of, it's almost like common sense. If you look at the asteroid belt in between Mars and Jupiter, it's kind of like, well, that doesn't make any sense. It's like a huge band of rocks, in between these two planets. It sort of seems like there was probably another planet there, and something happened and destroyed that thing. Now, Mars has some features on its surface that indicate that there was some sort of major cataclysmic event in the past, for sure. And I've heard the same thing, that Mars at some point had a much more rich and full atmosphere, and that something somehow sort of ripped the atmosphere right away from the planet somehow.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing that points to that, how do you spell your name?
My name is spelled Mike, M-I-K-E, and my last name is H-A-G-A-N, Hagan.
Oh, really? My name's Louis. My last name's Hagan.
Huh. How do you spell it?
GIEDINGHAGEN.
You spell it E. Okay, all right.
Right?
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to tell you, Mike, is that Mars wobbles on its axis, and he was saying that might be another indication that something hit it and knocked it off. But he went even beyond that to say, and I don't know how he could say this. He didn't say it was like a theory. He's saying this is what happened. He said people used to live there, and this is the place that they came. They were more advanced than we were, and they knew that this was going to happen. So
no, and he's saying that our ancestry is actually Martian.
Yeah, the people. He said the people landed in someplace in Europe or someplace, and he said the people in Europe are different than people in the other places on the planet, and he said that's where they landed, and it's like they were trying to survive because they knew this thing was going to happen. So, I mean, but it was kind of unusual because he's not like saying it's a theory or something.
Right, just saying that that's the way it is, huh?
Yeah.
Well,
it's like, where'd this guy come from?
Right. Well, maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but I'm going to have to see more than that to actually,
right.
To feel it. But
I mean, it's possible.
It's possible, certainly.
If you think, I mean, we're not the most advanced people in the universe. We don't have. And, if you've ever seen, I was in the military, and we actually saw a UFO when we were over in Vietnam. And there's been plenty of reports in the military of them.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, it's like it's kind of egotistical to believe we're the most advanced beings in the whole universe. So if somebody's more advanced than we are, I'm sure they might have been here, just stop by.
Just take a look, huh?
Right.
Well, if that's the case, that's what they've done. They've taken a look, and they've maybe left a little clue here or there. But the Holy Grail is the contact thing, where we actually can actually visualize it, feel it, see it, hear it, and all that. And until that happens, I'm still going to lean toward the skeptical side. I'm sort of a military background guy myself, and but I also know a little bit about secrecy and about black projects and stuff like that. In fact, Louis, this is crazy. Are you familiar with the sort of mythical aircraft that's called the TR-3B? It's like that triangular ship that a lot of people report seeing, like a black triangle with very quiet and seems to have like anti-gravity capabilities, that type of thing.
I heard of things like that.
Well, there's actually a program that people say existed. It was actually a U.S. A government military program for this plane or ship or whatever it is that's called the TR-3B. Well, I saw some funky footage from the SpaceX, one of the SpaceX satellites, which is Elon Musk and Tesla and those guys. They're sort of private project, but they have cameras that are running all the time up there, and it was to me. And you can look on YouTube for people who are listening if you want to search for this, but just Google or do a search for TR-3B and Dragon, SpaceX Dragon, because that was the satellite that it was flying by. Anyway, this Dragon satellite's up there, and I swear to God, it looks like one of these TR-3Bs or some sort of triangular ship passes right. I mean, much more clearly than some of the typical UFOs type stuff where you go, well, it could have been anything, right? I mean, this is hard to refute that it's not something. I don't know what, but it's definitely. Right. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, I have a hard time believing that we went to the moon in 1969 and we've done essentially nothing since then.
Yeah, that is interesting.
You know, considering the advancement of every other technology, if you think about what technology has done in every other area of endeavor, you know, computer technology in every area, I mean, it would seem that space travel and the ability to do that would have gotten a whole lot better as well. And it seems like it didn't. It seems like it just went away.
Right.
I mean, now, you know, they talk about, well, it's going to be a big deal if we can go back to the moon in 2025 or something like that. It's like, why is that such a big deal? We did that 60 years ago.
Yeah, the thing, I saw this movie one time of the trip that they made to the moon, and it's like two of them had gone down to the surface, and one of them stayed up in the...
Right, in the orbiting module, yeah.
Yeah, in the orbiting module. And the guys went down there, and they're like, you know, walking around doing whatever they were doing. And this guy calls NASA and says, hey, there ain't no atmosphere on Mars, you know.
Or on the moon, you mean?
On the moon. And, you know, NASA goes, yeah, we know that. And he said, you know, there's explosions on the sun that release like this really huge amounts of radioactivity, and it's like if they're exposed to it, it's just like being in a
microwave oven or something, right?
Yeah, like hitting with a nuclear bomb, because there's nothing to stop the radiation.
Right. We've got the atmosphere, and we got the magnetic field that protects the Earth, and I agree. In fact, I've talked about that on the program before, about how one of the primary hurdles to deep space travel is just the ability to shield ourselves from cosmic radiation. I mean, we're just not built to handle that stuff, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they told the guy that was up in the orbiting capsule, they told him to turn the capsule so that the heat shield faced the sun. And this was in the movie.
Right.
And so he, you know, that would give him protection. And they told the guys on the surface to get back up there as soon as they could. So they, in the movie, they got in there, but the one guy's like, he's having trouble because they already been hit with this
that radiation,
one of the radiation waves, and he's having trouble getting in. The other guy pulls him in, and the thing they were worried about is if these guys are going to stay conscious long enough to get back up to the orbiting capsule. Right. And it's like, so it's like, you know, every time they come back, they're always quarantined and everything, and it's like two of the guys might have actually died, but, you know, it's like they didn't.
Right, it just wasn't publicized or whatever. Right. Yeah, and that may, Louis, that may be, you may have hit it. That may be the main reason why we haven't been able to, you know, do any major, you know, colonization or bases on Mars or the moon or whatever. That may be the simple explanation, is we are just not designed to handle the environment outside of this Earth. And you know, there are conspiracy folks. And I'm not one to discount all conspiracy. There are many conspiracies that are actually true, but there are a lot of people that say that, you know, we have a space force, and we already have bases on Mars, and we actually are already gallivanting around the solar system. And I just don't see any evidence for it yet. And until I see some more credible evidence, I'm going to kind of go with the argument that you and I are sort of talking about here, is that I think that perhaps when we went to the moon and did these manned projects, that we actually realized, holy shit, this is a lot harder than we thought, you know, and we really can't do it for any great length of time, you know. Right. So, anyway, hey, listen, buddy, I'm just getting about to the bottom of the hour here. I'm going to take a break. Okay. But it's been a thrill. Right. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. So glad you called in, and try to tune in next Monday. I've got a guy named Paul Laviolette, who's an astrophysicist who's super interesting, and you might enjoy the show.
Okay, what time is it, real quick?
It'll be 11. It'll be 11 o'clock next Monday. Every Monday, 11 until 2.
All right, thank you. Good talking with you.
Hey, Happy New Year, Lou.
Mike, Happy New Year to you.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
All right, a big Happy New Year there to Lou and everybody else out there who's listening to the program. You are listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia, 89.5 FM. I've got something special here I'm going to play for you. That's a little bit about New Year's resolutions. I'm going to take a little break here for about 15 minutes or so, and then we'll open the phone lines back up and see what you got to say at the beginning of this new year of 2019. This is a talk from... I guess it's about 7 or 8 years old, from a person whose name is Austin Yoder, and it has to do with New Year's resolutions and about how maybe we should just say goodbye to all of them. All right, it's Mike. You're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Nupam. So, I spent 4 days in January in a woodsy cabin in Asheville, North Carolina, writing goals for the year. And some people call this process writing New Year's resolutions. Some people call it goal setting. Whatever you'd like to call it. One of the biggest things on my list for the year was to spend spring break somewhere as cold as humanly possible. And it was to do something that people always say you should do at least once before you die. What I'm talking about, of course, is seeing the aurora borealis. Now, I just got back from 4 days in a little city in Canada called Yellowknife, where I spent the nights taking in the aurora borealis. It was spectacular, just an electric ribbon that rips across the sky in turquoise and pink. And temperatures would drop to 40 to 50 degrees below zero, cold enough that as I would breathe outside, the condensation from my breath in real time would actually form icicles in my facial hair. And that was completely new for me. Now, getting to actually accomplish this, knock it off my bucket list, was a fantastic feeling. But I guarantee you that if instead of doing this in my woodsy cabin, I had done it as a traditional New Year's resolution, there's no way I ever would have gotten to see the aurora borealis. Hi everyone, as Anupam said, my name is Austin Yoder, and what I'm here today to discuss with all of you is the internet and the end of New Year's resolutions. So I'm going to call for an end to the institution of New Year's resolutions as it currently exists, and then I'm going to spend a little bit of time with you all rethinking what New Year's resolutions should be all about. So if we're going to rethink New Year's resolutions, I feel like we need to first ask ourselves what it is that New Year's resolutions intend to accomplish. What is their purpose? I think that New Year's resolutions fundamentally are about becoming happier, building a healthier life, and finding more meaning and direction in our own lives. Now, these are all fantastic and worthy ideas that we have to grapple with, but for something as weighty as becoming happier and building a meaningful life, New Year's resolutions are completely broken. 1 out of every 3 people before February, less than 1 month, will give up on their New Year's resolutions. And before the end of 1 full year, 4 out of every 5 people will abandon their New Year's resolutions. For becoming happy, those figures are terrible. Next. Here's why I think that happens. I have 3 main problems with New Year's resolutions. The first is that they're not systematic. That means usually what happens is a couple of days before January 1st, people whip out a notepad and they write down that they want to lose weight, they want to hit the gym more, put more money in the bank, and their resolutions may be restricted to health or finances or relationships, but they don't take a very comprehensive approach to building a better life. The second problem that I see with New Year's resolutions is that there's no mechanism for accountability built into them, right? They're extremely easy to forget, and they're extremely easy to give up on because nobody's helping to keep us on track. The third problem, and what I see as the biggest problem with traditional New Year's resolutions, is that they're entirely a one-way street. So let's say that I resolve to lose 10 pounds by February the 1st, right? Let's further say that I, in fact, lose 10 pounds by February the 1st. Great, pat myself on the back. I'm gonna be feeling better, I'm gonna be looking better, I'm gonna have a lot of self-confidence. But the progress that I make over the course of that month is restricted entirely to myself. That progress doesn't extend beyond me to help or inspire anyone else in the world. So those are the main problems that I see with New Year's resolutions. And we're going to spend a little bit of time right now rethinking New Year's resolutions. So New Year's resolutions, in an ideal and new model, should be systematic. They should have a mechanism for accountability built into them. And I think that they should be a two-way street. Systematic. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about concretely, in my woodsy cabin in North Carolina, what I did is I took my life and I broke it down into its most important categories. So these are the categories for me, things like health, relationships, finance, business, travel. I love to travel. And what I did is I took those categories and I further broke them down into subcategories. So you can see these are actually the goals that I set. Thought I would open up to all of you. And so for the subcategories, what I did is I thought about what was working well in those areas of my life, what wasn't working so well in those areas of my life. And I set goals to challenge myself to grow in literally every aspect of my life. The second thing that a new model of New Year's resolutions should have is a mechanism for accountability, right? So after I wrote down all of these goals, what I did is I typed them up in an email, I put them in the mind map, which you just saw pictures of, and I sent them out to my closest friends and family around the world. This is where the internet really starts to come in handy, because as you can see, my closest friends and family, my existing social support network, lives everywhere from California down to Texas, all the way out to Doha in the Middle East. And in order to tap into that network and get support from them, I mean, there's just simply no other way that I could use them without the internet. So I sent out my goals to them and I said, please help me stay accountable to these goals, right? When it looks like I'm getting off track, please help me get back on track. And to give you an idea of how this works, one of my goals for health for the year was to weigh 200 pounds and be at 15% body fat by March 1st, right? Incredibly specific. And this was going to be a massive problem for me because of my sweet tooth. I have a very big sweet tooth. So what I did to work with that is I set up a food blog where every day before I sat down to eat a meal, I would whip out my phone, take a picture of that food, and post it to the blog, right? So I shared this blog with my friends and family, and I said, whenever you happen to think of it, just check in on me, see if I'm on track with my diet or not. It was great. I actually got down from about 21% body fat in late December to like 15.5 by March 1st, 15.5% body fat. So I considered that a success. But when, for example, I cheated on the evening of, March the 7th, and after dinner I had, and this is a direct quote, gobs of Nutella as a snack, interesting things start to happen. My mother called me up the next day, and she said, Austin, what are you doing eating so much Nutella if you're trying to maintain 15% body fat? And that support, that accountability, helps me stay on track. And you can bet that when I know that I'm going to have my mother on the other end of the phone, when I start thinking about eating Nutella, it helps keep me honest. So the third thing, and I think the most important thing, that a new model of New Year's resolutions absolutely has to have, is that it has to be a two-way street. This is my Uncle Vernon, and there are a couple of things that you should know about Uncle Vernon. He is 75 years old. He's one of the most energetic, creative, and amazing men that I know. But in recent years, Uncle Vernon has been facing some health problems. And those health problems have given him a little bit of a scare, and some other members of my family a bit of a scare. So after I sent out all of my goals to my friends and family, Uncle Vernon called me up and he said, Austin, thank you so much for sharing your plan for the year with me. It got me thinking differently, he said, thinking differently. He said it helped him to realize that what he needed in his own life, what he wanted for a better sense of control and direction, was life planning and a sharper focus on health consciousness, just like with my food blog. Now, that conversation may not seem very significant to some of you sitting in this room, but I took it as a tremendous victory, because in that moment where Uncle Vernon was thinking differently, his daily routine was interrupted, right? The way that he thought about things normally was changed, and he was considering small, concrete things that he could do in his own life to build a better sense of happiness and direction. Now, my understanding of TED is that we're all gathered here today to share good ideas with each other, right? To spread good ideas that will somehow have a positive impact on the people in this world. That's basically what we're here for, right? The speeches that we've heard today, I've been listening backstage, have been fantastic. I would just like to take the remainder of my time to remind all of you that you don't have to be standing on a stage to share good ideas with the people that matter most to you in life. You can spread good ideas and have a positive impact on people from your car, on the phone, from your office, from your home, anywhere, right? The old model of New Year's resolutions is about planning out your life so that you grow as an individual, so that you make progress in certain specific areas of your life, but it stops at you. Regardless of what the most important goal to you right now might be, whether that's to lose some weight, to hit the gym a couple more times a week, or to get up into the subarctic to see the northern lights, that's great. Own that and work your butt off to make that happen, but don't let that progress stop at you, because you can leverage that progress with your own Uncle Vernon, with your friends and your family members. If you share that story, the narrative of your progress over the course of 1 year, and you invest other people and your goals and your growth, you're gonna have an impact on them. They're gonna start thinking differently, right? So with old New Year's resolutions, you're growing as an individual and it stops there. With this new model of New Year's resolutions, you're planning out your life so that not only do you grow as an individual, but you help other people grow as individuals also. That's all I got. Thank you.
It's great to be with you guys today. I had to get up at like 4 in the morning because I live in the wine country. And so driving down here, early in the morning and the sun was coming up, it was, on one hand, I wanted a little more sleep. On the other hand, it was a beautiful morning coming in. I teach at Stanford University. I do that 1 day a week. I figured out how to do that along with the internet and phone calls and what have you. And my work's all about behavior and how you design to change people's behaviors. And what we're going to do right now, we're going to practice some behavior change. And the organizers of this event have been very good at providing some supplies. So I want all of you to look under your seat right now and see what surprise is waiting for you. What I want you to do, and we debated whether we should really do this or not, but we're going to do it, is I want you to tear off one piece of floss like this. And what we're going to do, don't do it quite yet, we're going to practice what I call a tiny habit. And in this case, we're going to do something very, very small, and I'm going to have you floss one tooth. Not yet, we're going to do it all together. I know some of you think that's kind of gross, but we can do this. Now, there's one more piece, and I'll explain this a little bit later in my presentation. After you do a tiny behavior that you want to repeat in the future, or maybe expand, what you need to do is celebrate victory. Immediately, right away. So I'm not talking about going out to the bar or going and making cookies or what have you. You need to tell yourself in some way that you're awesome. Okay? So we're going to practice this. There's a few ways to do this. I've mapped out 10 different ways to celebrate. But we're going to start with one that's pretty common, that works, and it goes like this. I'm awesome. Okay, you ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm awesome. Okay, let's try another celebration. And this one is bingo. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Bingo. Awesome. Now, I'm awesome. There are some people, when they're working with tiny habits with me, they like doing a little dance. And that makes them feel like, yeah, I'm rocking it. Okay, so ready? Little dance. 1, 2, 3. Awesome. Okay, now we're going to get to this in a minute, so just hang tight. I'll give you a little bit of background, and we're going to practice this together. You guys are great sports in practicing the celebrations with me. I'm obsessed with how behavior works. Even on vacation, I'm thinking about behavior. I'm watching behavior. I'm reading stuff on it. I'm trying to understand it systematically. And when I'm sleeping, and this is a little bit scary, I'm thinking about behavior model, behavior grid, domino actions, motivation waves in my sleep. And this happens almost every night now, so that's a little freaky, but I learn things, so that's nice. I would have never expected that a year ago, that today I would be doing 50, 60, 70 push-ups a day. But all this is part of being obsessed with the behavior. And one of the things that you need to do is practice changing your own behavior. And that gives you an understanding of how behavior works. Now, the way I arrived here was very much like the flossing, but a little bit different, and this was the equation. After I pee, I will do 2 push-ups. Okay, so I'd use the facility. Yes, technically you flush the toilet first, and then 2 push-ups. And you're done, and you go, awesome, okay? Okay, awesome, yeah. Well, after 2, it's really easy. You move on, then you do 5, then you do 8, and the current where I'm at now, I do 8, but I always do extra credit. So I tend to do 12 or so, and it adds up over the day. I end up doing, who knows, 50, 60, 70, depending on how much water I've had and other factors. The good news is that behavior and behavior change is not as complicated as most people think. It's systematic. And there are ways to understand behavior that are pretty straightforward and simple, and I'm going to share some of those with you today. There are 15 ways behaviors can change. There are not hundreds of behavior types. There's 15 ways. When we talk about health behavior change, people are mostly talking about long-term change, and this row, these are the 5 that represent different types of long-term change. I'm not going to go into depth here, but what I want to explain to you is when it comes to long-term change, there's only 2 ways you can get it done. Number 1, you can change your environment. So before, here's your environment, certain behavior, and then after, the changed environment changes your behavior. That's a reliable way. It also includes your social environment. Before, after. Now, changing the environment is a reliable way to change your behavior. However, it can be tricky, especially the social environment with families and coworkers and so on. So there's one other way of changing your behavior long term, and I'll give you a hint. It does not have to do with motivation. Surprise. Motivation actually applies to other kinds of temporary behavior change, but not long term. In other words, relying primarily on motivation to change your behavior long term is a losing strategy. And similarly for willpower. So if you can take those off the table if you make the behavior change tiny enough. Now in this grid, this is where habits live, blue path. It's something familiar that you do from now on. And if you make that very tiny, like 2 push-ups, floss 1 tooth, and so on, it's very easy to repeat and make that become a habit. Think about it this way. You already know how to floss all your teeth. That's not what you're lacking. What you're lacking is the automaticity of flossing. So you don't need to train flossing all your teeth. You need to train making it automatic. Now, in the persuasion boot camps that I teach, we geek out about this kind of stuff. And this is one of the crews with me up in the wine country doing it. We look at the sequences of behaviors that eventually land you here to habit. We won't go in that kind of depth today, but what I do want to say, and this is a little bit controversial, is this puzzle is solved, and I'm going to share the pieces with you, and I'm going to share some ways that it got solved, and we'll see what you think. That there's a new way to create habits that is reliable and it's systematic. Now, when we look at health outcomes, bullseye, what do we want to do? Well, things like lose weight, manage stress, and so on. But if you design for the outcomes, you're designing at the wrong place. You need to design for the behaviors that lead to the outcome. And if you take an issue like weight loss, there are many, many behaviors that can contribute to that outcome. Stress reduction, eating better, and so on. And I would propose that most of the behaviors that we need to do are habits. So of the 15 ways behaviors can change, the one that matters most to long-term health are habits. And as we create what I call these tiny habits, and we can't do it all at once, little by little, we will then approach this health outcome in a very reliable way, in a way that doesn't regress, in a way that doesn't make you, oh, I give up, now I'm just going to go back to how I was. Let me share a personal example, and I hesitated about including this, but I will. In 2010, I got one of these scales that's super high tech, and it can tweet out your weight, okay? So I set it up, so it's tweeting my weight. So I started tweeting it out in 2010, and this is about a year, so you can see what's going on there. Not much change, up and down, up and down. What I learned was, number one, simply tweeting your weight didn't seem to have any effect on me, and I looked up others who had done it. It didn't seem to have lots of an impact. And number two, my Twitter followers hated it, so I stopped. But I kept, I'd made it a habit of stepping on the scale. It was right there. A few months later, going up. So at one point, I thought, okay, I've been doing this thing called tiny habits. It's something I've applied elsewhere. Now I'm going to apply it to weight loss, because I want to lose some pounds. So after creating many, 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 many tiny habits, this is where I am this week. So that's probably the course of a year or so. So you can see no real change. And then putting together little by little these tiny habits that took root and would grow, I believe I've made a long-term change. Now we'll see 5, 10 years from now, but it seems like these habits will be very hard to undo. So I put this out there. When you know how to create tiny habits, you can change your behavior and your life forever. Now, let me back up and explain how I honed in on the formula of tiny habits, and you can see whether it syncs with how you think about it. There are 3 things that have to happen at the same moment to cause a behavior. Number 1, there has to be some level of motivation. You got to want to keep your teeth clean. You got to want to get stronger with push-ups or something like that. Next, you have to have the ability to do it. And then there has to be a trigger. Now, when I say trigger, I mean call to action. It's the thing that says, do push-ups now, floss your teeth now, and so on. And it's these 3 things together. When they combine at once, then the behavior will also occur. A behavior, whether it's floss your teeth, do push-ups, what have you, send a thank you note. Now, motivation and ability are trade-offs. And this line, this curved line, represents that trade-off. And if you're anywhere above the line and the trigger occurs, you will do the behavior. So let me give some examples of this. Here below the line, let's say I want you to run a marathon, and you have no motivation to run a marathon. Both low motivation and it's hard. When I say run a marathon, you're not going to do it, no matter how many times I make that call to action. In contrast, if I say, oh, walk outside and walk back in, maybe 30 seconds, simple to do, you're above the line. You may not be very motivated, but because it's so easy to do. Now let's move up here. It's hard to do. I'm asking you to do something very hard. In order to do something that's difficult, you need high levels of motivation. In fact, I think that's the purpose. That's the only use of motivation in our lives, is to allow us to do hard things. And if we're not doing hard things, we don't need that much motivation. When our motivation lags, boom, can't do it. Motivation is very slippery. So if you set yourself up to do something hard and you have to somehow sustain the motivation, the motivation's going to drop down, and there's going to be a point where you don't do it, and habits are about repeating it, and you won't create the habit. So as I looked at this, as I looked at my behavior model, I thought, let's go right here. Easy to do. Stuff that's so easy to do, it doesn't require much motivation at all. So whether your motivation's high, you'll still do it. Whether it's low, you'll still do it. And so this is where the insight around, let's make it really tiny. Really tiny, like 1 tooth, 2 push-ups, 1 sip of water, and so on. Well, now, when you look at it in this way, the smiley face, we're accounting for motivation, we're accounting for ability. So in the equation B equals MAT, those things are done. What wasn't done, and what I hadn't solved, was the trigger. How do we trigger that behavior easily? Well, one day, I came home from the gym, I went into the bathroom, I got in the shower, I turned on the shower, I got out, I dried off, I went into my bedroom, I opened the sock drawer, and at that moment, it hit me. After. The secret was after. If you use an existing behavior in your life and you put the new tiny behavior after it, you can use the existing behavior to be the trigger. So I was looking for, what is the T, what is the trigger? Well, the triggers are your existing behaviors. I was pretty happy about this. I thought this was a breakthrough. It means you don't have to put up Post-it notes. You don't have to set alarms and so on. You just establish what it will come after. So I went off, mapped this out, and started practicing tiny habits more and more on my own, applied them to many things. And then about a year ago, after I'd done this a while, I thought, I'm going to invite some friends to do it, and it kind of grew from there. So today I've actually coached over 20,000 tiny habits, and this is a snapshot from the spreadsheet. Here's the format for tiny habits. It looks like this. After I, whatever your existing behavior is, I call that an anchor, I will floss 1 tooth, do 2 push-ups, and so on. So what kinds of tiny habits do people create? This is from this upcoming week. I grabbed this out of the database. A lot of habits are geared toward the morning. After I start my morning coffee, I will tidy 1 item in the living room. Other habits are toward the evening, where you have routines already set up. After I enter the house at the end of the day, I will kiss my wife for 10 seconds. These kind of tiny habits work out really well. So as you think about changing your life, think about framing it in terms of this format. After I pick an existing habit that you do every day with the same frequency that you want the new behavior to happen, I will, and you've got to make it super tiny. After I pee, I will do 2 push-ups. After I walk in the door, I will hang my keys on the hook. After I brush my teeth, I will floss 1 tooth. That makes sense, right? That brushing becomes the trigger or the anchor for flossing 1 tooth. And then you celebrate it. So now we're on to the practice time. You ready for this? Everyone get out your floss. Okay, in your minds, visualize you're brushing your teeth. Oh, I think we need to practice celebration. We're going to go awesome, right? 1, 2, 3, awesome. Okay, all right, we brush our teeth, floss 1 tooth. 1, 2, 3, awesome. Okay, if you keep at that over time, it'll get easier and easier to floss your teeth, and you can floss more and more. There's different ways to celebrate. Find the celebration that works for you. Here's the phrase, and it comes down to this. I live up in the wine country. I do a lot with the earth as much as I can, and this seems to map exactly what I'm talking about. Plant a tiny seed in the right spot, and it will grow without coaxing. The tiny seed. This pumpkin came from a tiny seed that actually we didn't even plant. It came from the chicken manure that we put in the garden, and it grew. We didn't have to do anything to it. It just grew. Tiny seed in the right spot. So I encourage you to look at your lives, look at what you want to change, break it down to tiny behaviors, and put them in the right spot. The right spot is after something you're already doing, and allow it to grow. You don't have to amp up motivation. You don't have to draw that much on willpower. All you have to do is plan it out and let this natural process emerge. Thanks, everybody.
All right, a couple of nice pieces there on New Year's resolutions and how you might handle them or approach them or deny them, whatever. It's Mike. You're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia, 89.5 FM. We've just got a couple minutes before the top of the hour here. We're going to get one in here from the Hooten Hallers, and we got a bunch more music between now and the 2 o'clock hour. Glad you're with me here. We'll open the phone lines in a little bit as well. In the meantime, let's get some music going here, and this is called Hard to Trust Your Baby. It's the Hooten Hallers, live in Missouri, KOPN Columbia, Radio Orbit.
Well, it's hard to take the high road when you're always feeling low, and it's hard to make a home when you're always on the road, and it's hard to trust your baby when she says she loves you so. Oh yeah. About the devil, then I heard about the Lord, and then I heard all your excuses. Now I'm getting kind of bored. You ain't broke, I do right. It's doing wrong, you can't afford. No, 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 no. Can't afford it, baby. Now when you see me cooking, get right up here to my stove, because you know I see you looking. Now my fire is burning low. I like to keep it really greasy. It's just the way I fucking roll. Oh, I should fucking roll that way. Oh, yeah, I fucking roll.
All right. Hard to Trust Your Baby. That's the Hooten Hallers live in Missouri. Great new record from the Hooten Hallers out last week, I guess. Released on the 21st of December. And great stuff. If you get a chance to get an earful of them, do it out there in the open world. If you get a chance to see them live, or you can download their material, or check it out on Spotify and iTunes and all that stuff, right? Hooten Hallers. Great Columbia musicians, John, Andy, Kelly. Hats off. Happy New Year. Hope you're having a great show up there tonight in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And we're going to keep it going. It's top of the hour right now. We're going to keep it going here with one called I Just Knew You'd Come Around. And I've got 1 hour left of this program tonight. And I've got, let's see, 2, 4, 8, 16, 21... 33, 41. I got about 40 hours. I have about 40 minutes of music that I still have to get in because I want to play this whole record tonight. That's sort of my goal for the New Year's Eve show. So anyway, I should just shut up and play another song here. This one's called I Just Knew You'd Come Around. It's the Hooten Hallers on KOPN Columbia, Radio Orbit.
Well, hello, baby. I'm so glad you came around. It's been so long since I've seen you. I wanna grab you in my arms, jump up and down. me that you only put me down, but they're just jealous of the love, so real and so profound. Well, honey, I just knew you'd come around. I just knew you'd come around. Take my heart back off the ground. I'm not surprised you realize all the true love that you have found. I was sad 'cause you were gone, but I knew that it would not be long till you were right back, right back, right back, held in my arms. So welcome back, baby. Come on in and put your suitcase down. I got some beans of green simmering on the stove, some chicken just getting brown, and later on, maybe we can get drunk, and I'll sing you about the old side of town. Well, honey, I just knew you'd come around. Yes, darling, I'm so glad you came around.
All right. Another one from the Hooten Hallers there. I knew you'd come around. That's John and Andy and Kelly. Rock and roll 2019. Hope you're all enjoying it. Happy New Year to you. It's Mike. You're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia. I'm about to play another song from Live in Missouri, the Hooten Hallers' most recent record. And it's called Charla. And before I play it, I will say that I have a wonderful video version of this song. John Randall played a little acoustic event down at the Black and Gold bar. I guess that's what it's called, down in the business loop there in Columbia. And I'm sure it was only because our great friend Georgia Lee asked him to do it. But anyway, Happy New Year, Georgia. I love you. And also, Happy New Year to all my other friends out there listening. Certainly the folks down there at the quarry. Hi to Pratty and my sweet friend Tiffany, and Mary got off early tonight. But anyway, Happy New Year to all the folks out there, all the gang from Booches and down there at 44, and all my buddies and friends out there in the world. All right, Happy New Year 2019. Anyway, so the song Charla from the Hooten Hallers, it's about lupus and goes back to the Chili Fest, I guess, a few years back. But anyway, it's a great song, and great version of it was actually recorded, like I said, at Black and Gold on the patio a month and a half or two ago. But this one's going to be a live version, as we've been hearing throughout the night tonight. All these songs are from the Hooten Hallers' most recent record called Live in Missouri, recorded in May at the Blue Note, and mixed and mastered down there at Will Reeves' place, Central Cellar Studios here in Columbia. Just great music, and I'll shut up for a minute and just let you enjoy it for yourself. This one's called Charla. It's Radio Orbit, KOPN Columbia.
Well, now when we first got to Lupus, everyone was singing songs. The hippie queen of Lupus, she was dancing and singing along. Well, I sat right down, I had me a beer. It didn't take very long till I was partying down in Lupus town. And then I started singing this song. I'm singing Charla, don't bother. Y'all, it's too early tonight, because I'm having such a good time, Lord. I wanna sing it till the morning tonight. I'm singing Charla, don't bother. Y'all, it's too early tonight. I'm gonna stay with you in Lupus tonight. Well, that's about when I look turned around, cause I heard laughter I thought I recognized. It was Charlie and Dino and the rest of the crew, just lounging in the warm sunlight. Well, as we Dino rolled the biggest smoke I think I've ever seen. If I don't make it home from Lupus tonight, I'll be crashing with the hippie queen. And I'm singing Charlie, don't bother, don't too early tonight, because I'm stumbling and I'll pass out on the floor, and I'm sleeping till the morning tonight. I'm singing Charlie, don't bother, don't too early tonight. I'm gonna stay with you tonight. Well, early the next morning, my head was pounding loud. I woke up on the floor with a rusty dog in the middle of the breakfast crowd. And then I swore that I would never drink again, but it didn't take very long till I was partying down in Lupus Town, and everyone was singing this song. They're singing Charlie, don't bother, don't too early tonight, because we all need a place where we can lay our head, oh, and everything will be alright. We're singing Charlie, don't bother, don't too early tonight. I'm gonna stay with you in Lupus tonight. We all gonna stay with you in Lupus
Charlie, we love you. Johnny O, I love you. Andy, I love you. Kelly, I love you. It's Mike. You're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia, 89.5 FM. Great stuff from the Hooten Hallers and their Live in Missouri record just released a week or so ago here in Columbia, Missouri. All right, it is about 10 after 1 or so on the 1st of January, 2019. Happy New Year to all you out there. And I hope you're enjoying the show tonight and the music. We're listening to the new Hooten Hallers record called Live in Missouri. We've heard everything all the way through so far. Sticks and Stones, Albatross, Gravity, Grinding Up the Bones, Hard to Trust Your Baby, Knew You'd Come Back Around, and Charla. We've still got a few songs to hear before the end of the night here, so I'm going to have to kind of squeeze them in. But I will give you the opportunity to call in and say hello. It is New Year's Eve, actually New Year's Day now, so if you want to be one of the first people to talk to me on the air after midnight on KOPN, you can do it now. 573-443-8255 and 573-443-7380 are the calling numbers. If you'd like to call and say hello, Happy New Year, I'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, we will hear another song. Who's that? They're calling on the wrong number. They're calling on my cell phone, and that is Bartholomew Bean. Let's see if we can do this. This would be funny if we can do this on the speaker. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hey, Mike. I'm at the front door. Are you still open?
Oh, yeah. Let me throw on a piece of music, and I'll come open the door, okay?
Okay.
All right, there in a minute.
Okay, bye.
All right, it's Mike, and you're listening to KOPN Columbia 89.5 FM. This is Radio Orbit. I'm going to grab this phone call, too, so if you're calling here, stay on the line. I just picked up the phone, but don't hang up, okay? I'm going to go grab the front door, and I'm going to put on a piece of music here. We're going to get Bart Bean in the studio with me here, and we're going to take this phone call, and in a minute we'll be back, all right? Right now, this is She Used to Love My Music. This is a great song from the Hooten Hallers, written by Paul Weber, and you listen to it here on Radio Orbit. Back in a few minutes. Oh, yeah. All right. She Used to Love My Music. Another great song from the Hooten Hallers here, live in Missouri. Great new record called the exact same name, Live in Missouri. And you can thank John and Andy and Kelly and Will Reeves and Chelsea Myers and Dave Durnley just walks in like he owns the place, and Hickerson for the love of God, oh my God, yeah, now it's a party. It's actually New Year's now here, so right, all right, let's turn it all. All right, hold on, all these mics, hold on, all right, they're all on now. So grab a microphone, Dave Angle. Hello, Justin.
Happy New Year.
Good to see you, my brother. David.
Can we smoke in here?
Sure, yeah. Smoke anywhere you want. All right, it's Mike, and you're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia, 89.5 FM. I knew it would happen at some point, and I got some friends.
The point is 120.
120.
Ting, 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 ting.
We've got a couple of the Daves, Justin Hickerson and Bartholomew Bean here in the studio with me. It's a pleasure to be with all of you, and Happy New Year 2019. Hope it's a great one for you and yours. We've been listening to songs from the Hooten Hallers' most recent record. It's called Live in Missouri, and great stuff coming from the band. We're going to play another one here called Mountain of Pain while I can get my act together and have a smoke and a drink with my friends here, and we'll come back in about 5 minutes with a little jibber jabber. And if you want to get on the hold on a second, there was someone who called and I got to get them on the phone. Hello, I'm sorry I forgot about you. Welcome to Radio Orbit. Who's this?
This is Deborah.
Hi, Deborah. Happy New Year.
Cheers for you, New Year's. I had 3 things I wanted to touch on.
Sure.
If you can give me a minute or two.
I will, I promise.
This is about what Lou and you had a conversation about on those triangular flying objects.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to let you know that, yes, I have seen one a couple of seasons ago over my house, over my acreage. It brings to mind Independence Day. Great, big, huge things, and it was in the night. It was difficult to see it against the stars, but it was very big, and it had something between what would be the points on the triangle wings, if that's what they were. But I don't deal in bullshit. I'm telling you something real.
No, I know. I've known you for long enough to know that you tell me the truth. So
another thing I wanted to know if you had ever caught Ryan Ferguson's programs, like he had one on MTV.
No, I haven't, but you know...
Because you helped him. I mean, you helped his father. You had an interview.
Yeah, his father and I are good friends, and in fact, you're sort of reminding me that I need to get Bill back on the air and have sort of a wrap-it-up program, you know. It would be cool to get him on here and talk about, you know, sort of the end of the story about how Ryan actually did get released and sort of the inside story of that about, you know, Bill's experience.
I caught his shows by accident, and they were on for a while until it was time for him to come back to the courthouse here and get things settled, and or at least partially at the time. Mm-hmm. So then they went off the air, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was taken off because of the I don't know, the issues with the courts or what. And the other thing, did I ever send you one of my writings on Huynh Quang Nguyen, the first Vietnamese published in the United States?
You may have, but it may have been a long time ago. If it was when I was on the air, you know, back in.
Yes, I used to bring things into your mailbox there at KOPN, and since I had my stroke, I totally forgot about all of this, and I came across the paper, and about a month ago.
Well,
so
if you'll send it to me again,
I was wondering.
There
were some things about it. You know, it's an immigrant, and his ending was bad. The way our country treated him, and he's a writer. He had the Land I Lost and Water Buffalo Days. He was a very good friend of mine, which most people don't know. So I just wondered if I had sent that because I've forgotten so much.
Hey, Deborah, is that stuff available online? Like, if I went to look for it, could I find it, or would it be something that you would have to give to me?
Well, this was a letter I tried to write to the Tribune, and it was ignored, and I had condensed it, but I never heard anyone. And then he died, and there were some really bad things kind of going on about him and some of us and his friends. The way we were talked about is just total lies. And I just thought, you might be interested in, those kinds of people that those things happen to.
I would, and I am. And
the professors at MU might have been, people that I can't think of their names. I didn't ever know them. I thought if we all got together, we all had pieces of the story that we could have helped Noon. And anyhow, I just wondered about that because I've lost quite a bit of stuff I didn't realize. So anyhow, I'll let you go.
Hey, Deborah, Happy New Year, and you hang in there, and if you can, send me a note or something off the air, and we'll try to find that stuff. I promise. Okay.
I'm not on the air. I don't use the machines. That's a big thing with me. So I would have only have been something that I would leave it at KOPN maybe, but otherwise I don't know how to get hold of you. And I love the Hooten Hallers. Thank you so much for tonight. I'm so glad I turned the radio on.
All right. Well, and even so, if you have to bring it down here, I'd be glad if you put a note in my mailbox or whatever, and I'll grab it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Happy New Year. All right. All right. Hello to Deborah, and goodbye to Deborah, and hello to who this is. Hello. Who's this? Welcome to Radio Orbit.
Hi.
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 Hi. Hi.
Hi.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody. Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Hey.
How you doing? Who's this?
My name is John.
Hi, John.
And I'm calling from Hallsville, Missouri.
Right on.
Just tuned in and sounding good tonight.
You too, John.
Wishing y'all a really good Happy New Year.
I hope you have a great year. What are you up to tonight? Are you just getting home, or are you just going out?
Oh, we don't go out.
That might be a good choice.
We're in we live in a compound.
Yeah.
So.
That's
and well, it's hard to.
It's hard to trust your baby.
It's hard to explain, and it's hard to get away from the echo chamber.
Well, turn your radio down, and we'll talk for a second.
Yeah. What about that? Yeah, I didn't really have anything interesting to say. I did write a
Thanks
poem.
Thanks for calling.
I thought, let's see, I thought you liked to read You're Growing Your Hair Out.
Yeah.
That was a poem I just wrote.
Do you have a poem called Growing Your Hair Out?
The name of that poem is actually called Girl Crazy.
Oh.
I know it doesn't have anything to do with anything.
Well, it does. It has to do with girls and growing your hair, and if you send it to me in email, I will read it on the air. As long as it's not like an epic poem. It takes like more than 3 hours.
Evangeline. That would be hard to
read. I'm thinking
you can take those words and make them 3 hours long.
I can do it, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey,
John.
John,
where are you calling from, John?
Hallsville.
Oh, yeah, Hallsville.
From Hallsville, Missouri.
Right on.
John Sheffield, is it?
Wait a minute.
Is that Dave?
It is Durnley. Yeah.
Oh.
Is it John Sheffield?
Oh, no.
Not at all.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
It is. Oh, wait.
It is not that person.
No.
Right, well, hey.
Yes, no.
Hey, John, we're gonna get back to some music here from the Hooten Hallers. So enjoy the Happy New Year, my friend.
Evangeline.
Happy New Year, guys.
Hang tough, John. Happy New Year.
And gals and everyone.
All right, you too, man.
That pulled her man away.
He might kind of want to make a comment on that song.
Please.
She used to like my music.
Yeah,
that's a Paul Weber song, isn't it?
It's a Paul Weber song performed by the Hooten Hallers there. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Paul was playing harp on that recording, was he not?
Yeah. He that was at the Blue Note like in May of last year, and Paul was there, and a bunch of
the Scrappers opened up for
opened for that show. Huh. And I've got a couple of the Scrappers in the studio. Actually, I've got Justin Hickerson and Dave Dave Durnley. I got Dave Angle. I get all confused. I got too many members of too many bands in the studio at one time. So anyway, the Daves are here, minus Tony, or minus Dave Lotvin.
Tony.
Tony Newman.
Went home.
What? Has he got a family or something?
Yeah. He has adult supervision.
Yeah. Anyway, where you been, Dave, earlier tonight?
We played at the Roof tonight, and they had a nice
Man, that's
event.
a high-end gig, dude.
Well, and it was a pleasant event, too. They had it just in that little closed-in area that they have that is an indoor space, and it looks out above all of Columbia, and it's very pleasant. And it was a group of younger and older folks who
like to dance.
Yeah, for a good chunk of time they were dancing to some swampy blues that we were throwing down, and it was symbiotic and it was good.
Were you playing with them, Justin, or were you just hanging out?
No, I was playing.
Yeah, right on.
I was playing.
And was Tony there too?
He was.
So
he went home.
Oh, so it was the four of you.
It was.
And we got three of you here.
Right.
Was that a Meatloaf song? 3 out of 4? No. 2 out of 3.
3 out of 4.
Hey, we can redo that one.
I just want to tell you it's time to break. Come on, Mike. It's time to break.
Break the mic.
Let's take a break, Mike.
We are going to take a break, and we're going to listen to a song called The Mountain of Pain, because we're feeling it right now in the studio with Dave Angle giving us some acapella. It's Mike. You're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia. This is Mountain of Pain from the Hooten Hallers live in Missouri.
I got a broken home and an aching pain. She's got a brand new lover and a new last name. She moving on up. I guess I'm doing the same. Straight to the top of a mountain of pain. Well, it's an expert climb, but I know that I can, 'cause I know this mountain like the back of my hand, and my tears are cold now, like the freezing rain that falls at the top of a mountain of pain. See the river of sorrow filling up with my tears. They fall at the memory of a night die for. And I feel like I might. Some of these days, and most of these nights, but I got all that I need to go completely insane. I'm alone at the top of a mountain of pain.
Tune in Friday mornings at 9 for Open Mic Radio. Each week, host Mike Hagan
That's me!
brings the best in mid-Missouri music to the KOPN studios. Live performances, interviews, and a whole lot of fun with many of Missouri's finest musicians. That's every Friday at 9 a.m. on Open Mic Radio, only on KOPN 89.5 FM. All right, it's, what is it?
Well edited, that's what that was.
It's
That's awesome.
It's Radio Orbit on KOPN
Right on,
Columbia.
Mike. Thank you for doing that.
Oh, are you kidding me? Thank you for writing that song. That promo that you just heard was for a radio program that I do on Friday mornings, but the song in the background was written by Dave Angle and performed by Dave and Dave here in the studio with me tonight, and simply called KOPN Song. But anyway, one of the highlights of the year actually for me, and I was glad to be able to.
And us.
Hell yeah.
So when that inaugural open mic compilation comes out,
Yeah.
the KOPN song shall be on it.
You're damn right it will be. Yeah.
Damn right.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact...
You're damn right.
Damn straight, baby. All right, so we have a New Year's Eve extravaganza going on here at the KOPN studio. I got a bunch of good friends of mine here that happened to walk in and say
Dropped
hello.
in.
And I'm so glad they did. We've been listening to music from the Hooten Hallers new
Oh,
record.
we have guitars out there too. We should bring them in. Oh, is it too late?
Well, I got a couple more songs. I promised that I'd get this whole record in, this
I don't
whole
know,
live
Dave,
record.
So maybe not.
So
It's,
I think
I don't know.
Well, I think what we should
my
do.
arm's starting to hurt. And,
I'm trying to be nice about it, but hey, what we should do is have you guys come down here on another Monday night and play. Actually, I mean, you know, you can come down and Justin bring a drum or drums, and you guys, and we'll play music all night on a Monday night, one of these nights, you know.
Amen, brother.
All right. We got 25 minutes, and I've got to play this one. It's called Leave Me Alone. But I would like to say thank you to the Daves and to Bean and to Justin and ask what's going on. Where's your next gig and when, Dave?
Don't know.
Don't know, don't care.
Don't know.
I do care, but I don't care.
Yes.
All right. What about you, Bean?
Nothing really, set in stone.
Hey, Bean's going to do a Rainbow House concert.
Oh, right on.
That would be it. That would be the one thing that's talked about.
That's coming up in January. We're going to do that.
Good concert to do.
Yeah, I heard
And
about
we played the album release party this last year. It's now last year.
Oh, that was the best
And that
day
was-
of my life.
Well, it was a good day for me too.
It was a good day.
That was a fun show. And
Your
that
album
was
release-
all of us. BB
Oh,
and
yeah,
many,
yeah.
many Daves.
That's right. That's
Hanging
right.
out.
I was a Dave that day too, by the way.
Right, amen to that, you were. Fuck yeah. Heck yeah.
Here's to the Daves.
Here's to the Daves, and here's to Bean, and here's to all of the Scrappers and all of our friends and family out there in Columbia and out there throughout the larger world. It's a great night tonight, and I hope everyone has a great 2019. We're going to listen to one here from the Hooten Hallers.
Should old lang syne,
And let's get
my
with it here.
dear.
Quick, oh my God.
Should old lang
Leave me alone.
syne.
my money, he wrecking my name. There's so much hassle, there's so much pain. But you leave me alone. And I was shooting my dog and I was tasing my friend. Too many cowards, and I ain't a man. Why don't you leave me alone? Hold on now, so you said you were sworn to protect and serve, but it seems that you do not know shit about that. Why don't you leave me alone? I'll leave you alone, I got nothing to say. Back to the car and I will be on my way. Hang on the phone, you got nothing to do. I don't need to be hassled by you. Oh no, oh no.
All right, that's the Hooten Hallers. You listen to it here on KOPN Columbia. It's Open Mic Radio. No, it's not. It's Radio Orbit, and it's yeah, man. It's the 1st of January, first day of the year, 2019. The phone number, you got 15 minutes to get in and be, one of the first few callers of the year here at KOPN. The number is 573-443-8255 or 573-443-7380. I've got a bunch of buddies in the studio. We love to give you a hard time if you call and you got the guts. All right, and if you don't, I've got a few more songs here. I've got 2 more songs. I've got about 13 minutes of music. We got about 16 minutes left in the show. So we will chat for a minute here and say hello to Eric, who just walked in the door here. Stick around for Eric P's Sound Legacy coming at you in just a few after this radio program finishes up at the 2 o'clock hour. Eric will take you to 5 or 5:30, I think, maybe probably 5:30 until Morning Air comes on at 5:30 until 8. And if you like good music, you'll stick around and keep it locked here to KOPN. All right, it's Mike, and you've been listening to Radio Orbit for the last 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's a New Year's Eve program. It's been a fun show tonight, and I appreciate the people that have called in. You got a few more minutes to call. I'll take 1 or 2 more calls. I've got 2 more songs that I want to get in here just to make sure that I'm good for my word in saying that I was going to play the entire Hooten Hallers' new Live in Missouri record, and I think we'll do one more here real fast, and then we'll finish it off with with rhythm and blues. This one's called Trouble Is. Another Paul Weber song, as a matter of fact, right?
Trouble Is.
Yeah, Trouble Is.
Can't sleep at night.
Great song, performed here by the Hooten Hallers, recorded in May of 2018, and on a new album released in just December of this year. This is called Trouble Is. Again, the Hooten Hallers live in Missouri. You can listen to it here on KOPN, and it's Radio Orbit.
Well, I finally got over loving you. I finally found somebody new. No more lonely hours in darkness. The skies are so suddenly blue. For so long, why struggle to forget you? For so long, I stayed in my room. I'm patching up the pieces of my heartbeat, and sometimes I even smile too. Traveling, I can't sleep at night. Traveling, I cry all the time. Traveling, I never learn to face life alone. Traveling, I'll never make it without you. Travel ain't been leaving me alone, baby. Oh, since the day you said we were through. I searched all around, but no peace I found. So I'm writing this letter to you. I've been trying to plan for the future. You know, I knew love was part of the plan. I even asked the Father's blessing to take his young daughter's hand. Traveling, I can't sleep at night. Traveling, I cry all the time. Traveling, I never learn to face life alone. Trouble is, I'll never make it without you. Well, if this letter should happen to reach you, and that new love has turned you away, just know that I will always still love you. And I will welcome you back any day.
Yeah. All right, that one's called Trouble Is. Great song from the Hooten Hallers. Actually, a Paul Weber song performed marvelously there by our great friends John and Andy and Kelly in not any particular order. All right, it's Mike. You're listening to Radio Orbit on KOPN Columbia. We've got about 7.5 minutes, and I've got one song left before the end of the night. The email address to get a hold of me is Mike Hagan at MikeHagan.com or orbitradio@orbitradio. Wait, whatever. Just email me. Find me on the web at MikeHagan.com and listen to the music that you're hearing tonight. The Hooten Hallers are great. We've got the Daves in the studio. We've got Bartholomew Bean. We've got Paul Weber and the Scrappers. It's 2019, and we're in the middle of a wonderful music scene here in Missouri. So take part, get involved, and enjoy your 2019. I hope you have a great year. Be cool to yourself and be cool to other people. Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
Here.
How about that, huh?
All right.
Yeah. All right, and next week, Dr. Paul Laviolette. Be a great show. Once again, it's KOPN, Radio Orbit. Take care of yourselves.
Good night.
Choice gonna easily choose a stick to the woman with the rhythm and blues. I'll let her ride and roll all night. Let's get her feel that might be alright. She don't give a fuck, there's nothing to do. Rockin' and I'm rolling with the rhythm and blues. I love it, baby. People, I'm feeling good. Hey, I tell you what, folks. Want to say right now, thank you so much for coming to the show tonight. Make us feel right at home. Oh wait, we are at home. Hey, I'll give it up big time for Paul Weber and the Scrappers. Yeah, love them, boys. That's the way she goes, boys. All right, before we go, what we gotta do? One more time, we kick it back to our main gal, Kelly Everett, on the baritone saxophone.